Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. And in today's video, I am doing a part 2 collab with my dear friend Charlie. Her channel name is Peanut Butter Beauty. And of course, I'll link her channel in my description box. We did part 1 of this video a couple of weeks ago, and we had so much fun with it, and we still had more information to give you to chat about. So we thought, let's do a part 2. Now, this is all about what it was like to grow up in the 70s and 80s, even into the 90s. And there's just stuff that we didn't touch on in part 1, so we wanted to touch on some more in this video. And I got a lot of really positive feedback about that video, and I'm sure Charlie did too. She had to have. I really enjoyed watching Charlie's video because she touched on a lot of things that I didn't think to mention in my video. And so I took some notes on her video. I think she took some notes on mine from part 1, and here we are for part 2. And if you have not yet gone to Charlie's channel to subscribe, I highly recommend doing so. She's really fun to watch. She's beautiful, she's creative, she's talented, and she uses some amazing makeup products. So we're going to be doing a similar type situation as what we did in part 1. We're going to be using single shimmers from an indie brand called Clionadh Cosmetics. And I got to try Clionadh Cosmetics due to the generosity of my dear friend Andy. Andy does stuff. Of course, I'll link her channel in my description box. She sent me a gift card to Clionadh for my 50th birthday. And so I went onto the site and I got myself 7 singles. I did do a video where I swatched those for you. And I just loved the shadow I used in part 1. My first time ever trying a Clionadh shadow, and I just loved it. So I'm really excited to play with another one. The one I used in part 1 was Sandblast. The one I'm going to be using for this look is this beauty right here, and this is called Oxidize. It's like purple, green, bluey, shifty, sparkly stuff. And this is I can't ever read the back of this because it's such teeny tiny writing. It's a specific kind of shade. It's a dimensional multichrome. Okay, my glasses are filthy. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be using for the shimmer from Clionadh today. And then, let me put this away. Don't want anything to happen to that. Take very good care of it. And for the mattes, I'm going to be pulling out the Be Perfect Carnival 3 Love Tahiti Stacey Marie palette. And what I want to do is focus on the mattes on this side of the palette, like purples and pinks. Hello, I don't know what happened to me. The shimmers in here, that got dinged up. The shimmers in this palette are absolutely gorgeous. So it's not going to be easy for me to leave those alone, but the Clionadh single Oxidize is going to be the star of the show. So I think what I will do is use this shade here called Pink Lily, and then I think I'm going to use this one here called Grape and Blackberry. Is that it? Maybe Lilac too. And then of course use the single. Cannot wait. And I'm just going to be chatting with you guys about more stuff involving the 70s, 80s into the 90s. I do have both brows done and both eyelids are primed in the Juvia's Place Prep Prime Eyeshadow Primer. I will be doing both eyes on camera today. So I'm going to grab my Rephr 14 brush going into that pink shade, Pink Lily. Ooh, pretty. And I'm pretty sure I've used this shade before, but who knows? I love this palette. Jan suggested that I pull out a Blend Bunny palette, and I was going to do that, but then I have a makeup and artist video that I'm filming, I think tomorrow morning, and I'll be using a Blend Bunny palette for that. Yes. Okay. So let's start going in here. So some of the things that I forgot to mention in part 1 is that we had the best music in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, really, it was just unbelievable, the music that was around then. And I still listen to tons of 70s, 80s, and 90s music. That's pretty much all I listen to. I don't really even know who a lot of the newer artists are. Like, I'll hear a song, or my kids will play me a song, and I'm like, who's that? Like, I don't even know who they are. And it kind of irritates my kids, but whatever. I raised them on 70s, 80s, and 90s music, and quite often they will listen to it as well. The cool thing is that we had, well, I had like a tape recorder or like a boom box. I ended up getting a really cool stereo actually that was gifted to me from a friend of mine, like in this big, huge glass case, and had these big, huge speakers when I was like 7th, 8th grade. And I thought I was the coolest person on the planet. And my mom had gotten me the tape, Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi, and I used to just rock out in my room to that tape. And we had tapes, you know, do they even make tapes anymore? I don't even think they make tapes anymore. That, you know, were the cool thing to have. And I can remember riding my bike, I've mentioned this before, riding my bike down to the local Sam Goody, the record store, you know, with $10, and you could buy a tape with $10. It was great. Also, what we would do is we would buy blank tapes, like these Memorex blank tapes, like these, like sleeves of them. They weren't very expensive. And then we would pop one of those into the tape deck and we listened to the radio. And as soon as one of the songs we wanted to tape came on, we would tape it. The thing that used to get so annoying though is that the announcer or the DJ would sit and talk right up until the person started singing. And we wanted the intro to the song. You know, a lot of times the intro is the coolest part of the song. I have a hair on my face. And so we would be like, come on, shut up so we can tape it. So we had tons of blank tapes. We used to make tapes for each other, like my friends and I, or, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. We would make like love song tapes or just, you know, songs that we liked, like mixed with all different kinds of music, and give those to our friends. There was lots of times that like, I would give mixed tapes as gifts to my friends for like their birthdays or Christmas or whatever. It was so fun. I miss that so much. Oh, I miss that. And, you know, you had like the staple groups, of course, that you listened to, but then there was a lot of like one-hit wonders. I might even do a makeup and artist video focusing on just the one-hit wonders that were really popular back in the day. I have like fuzz or something all over. What is that? I had a long like hair sticking out of my right here, so I had to pluck that off. Jeez, I was like, I thought it was a cat hair, and I'm like, no, it's actually hooked to my skin. So I had to pluck that off. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I really am sad for folks that didn't grow up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because I really believe that's when music was at its best. It was so good, so good. And another thing I used to do too is I would have the tape or, you know, record a song off the radio, and then I would sit down with a notebook and I would go through the song and pause it after each sentence, and I'd write down the lyrics to the songs. I had like a whole notebook full of song lyrics. That was so awesome. Oh, that was the best. So cool. And, you know, quite commonly, the artists that I've featured on in my makeup and artist videos were the artists I was listening to. Prince, Janet Jackson, Depeche Mode, New Edition, the Go-Go's, Olivia Newton-John, you know, Billy Idol, all those folks. That's really what I was into listening to. Loved it. Yeah, that's looking good. It's looking a little bright and bold, but I'm going to go around and kind of chill the edge of that out with that lilac shade here in just a little bit. Something that I mentioned in part one is that, you know, of course, both of my parents were teachers. And something that was just so awesome was that they would commonly bring home projectors and like a movie screen, and we'd set that up in the living room. And then like for the weekend, we'd turn the living room into like our own personal movie theater. It was so awesome. And the movies that my mom would bring home, or my dad, or both, was Free to Be You and Me. I don't know if they even play that anymore. They probably don't. But I will link that in my description box. They do have Free to Be You and Me here on YouTube. And it was just the coolest. It was really fun, and they had great songs, and like Michael Jackson and Roberta Flack actually sing a song together when Michael Jackson was like a teenager. So cool. And William Wants a Doll was another song, and It's All Right to Cry, and Parents Are People, and it just, oh, it was so cool. So I really like how that looks. It's maybe, well, let me see. I think I need to go back over here just a little bit more. Also, my parents would bring home Rikki Tikki Tavi, about the little mongoose, and then Animal Farm. Such great movies. And I mean, we just pop popcorn and just have a grand old time. And I can still remember the smell of the projector screen, and, you know, the films were on those big reels, and oh, so cool. I learned how to like feed the movie into the projector camera. So I'm going to go into lilac and just kind of take the edge of that shade off. And Charlie mentioned something in part 1 that I completely spaced talking about, were big wheels and green machines. And I had a big wheel, and my neighbor kid had a green machine. And we would just tear up and down the streets on our big wheels and green machines. That was so fun. And there was an older couple that lived down the street from us that were just these really grumpy, not kind people. And they did not have kids. And I remember my mom telling me as I was getting older that when my mom got pregnant with me, and my mom was 30 when she got pregnant with me, and you know, that was seen as a little bit older at that point, because most women were having kids like in their 20s. And one day when my mom was pretty pregnant with me, the older woman of that couple came down to my mom's house, knocked on the door, and as soon as my mom opened the door, this woman started in on her about how irresponsible it was for my mom to have a child at 30, and that she was making a horrible choice by having a child at 30, that she was too old. My mom was like, lady, get lost. And so a lot of the times, like right when the fall would hit and the leaves were falling off the trees, of course, people would rake their leaves into a pile and put them out in the street for them to be picked up. And so myself and the neighbor kids would just tear through their leaf pile out in the street. My mom didn't even care. She's like, yep, go for it. Get them. And they would come out and yell, you kids, get out of our leaf pile. And they'd come down and complain to my mom. And my mom would be like, oh, yeah, I'll tell her not to do that anymore. And then she'd be like, go do it. So funny, horrible, but whatever. They were so grumpy and so mean. Oh, hated them. I really did. I was so happy when they moved away. I was like, yes. And, you know, it was just like having an extended family in my neighborhood, because we all knew each other and we all hung out together. I mean, I know my neighbors now, but not very well. You know, we would have like street barbecues, and like on 4th of July, we'd all hang out together and we all knew each other, and it was so fun. Like that just doesn't, even, well, where I live anyway, it just doesn't happen anymore. And, you know, we'd all get together and go trick-or-treating on Halloween, like a big group of kids. We would go together, and it was so fun. I loved Halloween as a kid. And primarily, I would dress up as either Bigfoot. I dressed up as Bigfoot like 3 or 4 years in a row. I was obsessed with Sasquatch when I was a kid. I don't know why. I just was totally obsessed. And a couple years I dressed up as Laura Ingalls. And then I was a flamenco dancer one year. I was an old lady one year. That was a costume that my dad and I just threw together at the last minute. And it was one of my best costumes. It was so cool. Love that. And we would just go trick-or-treating all over the neighborhood. There were like 4 streets, just boom, 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 boom. And I lived on one. And so we'd hit all 4 streets. And, you know, when I was real little, my parents would go with me, of course. But as I got older, we'd just go with the older neighbor kids. And everybody looked out for each other. And it wasn't scary or anything. It was wonderful. It was so fun. God, we had a blast. It was so great. Okay, I think I'm good. I really like how that looks together. Very pretty. I love these mats. So now I'm going to go into grape and deepen up the crease with that. And I also remember having this really cute Schwinn bicycle. It was blue and it had a banana seat, of course, and it had butterflies on the seat, like blue and yellow butterflies. It had a little basket on the front and a little bell that you push with your thumb and ding, ding, ding. And something that the neighbor kids and I would commonly do is put playing cards in the spokes of our bikes, and then when you would ride it would make that tick, 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 tick sound. We thought we sounded like motorcycles. But I'm sure it was so irritating to our parents and the other neighbors. They were like, could you kids take the damn cards out of the spokes of your bike? And oh, I got my foot caught in the front spokes of my front tire when I was 6. That hurt so bad. The rule was that I had to wear shoes when I rode my bike. And I don't know why, but I just really wanted to ride my bike without shoes. I would see kids doing that quite often. I'm like, I want to do that. My mom's like, don't you dare. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get your foot caught. Or I'm like, my mom, what the hell? So I'm 6 years old, and it was the day that my parents and the neighbor people were putting our pool in our backyard. And so I was totally unattended. And my neighbor girl and I, TT, the one that was with me when I broke my arm, she and I were just hooligans, okay? And she's like, let's go ride our bikes without our shoes on. Same rule for her. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Everybody's busy. Nobody's watching us. Let's go. So I get on my bike and I go riding down the street. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but somehow like my handlebars turned and my foot slipped off the pedal and went right into my front tire spokes. And but the tire was still going. It like threw me onto the ground and it just mangled my foot. It was all bloody and stupid. And we tried to think of a story to tell my mom and dad because, you know, we knew I was going to get in trouble, but I ended up just telling them the truth. I went flying in the house in tears. My mom's like, what did you do to your foot? I'm like, I got my foot caught in the spokes of my bike because I was riding without my shoes on. I got grounded off my bike for a week. That was something that was pretty common too, is grounding. Like when I would be a smart mouth or do something I wasn't supposed to do, I would get grounded. That was the punishment of choice for my parents. Usually it was like grounded to my room, or grounded from going outside, or, you know, I couldn't watch TV or listen to music, you know, stuff like that. Like whatever currency was really important to me, they'd take it away. And I would just be devastated. I'd be so upset about that. It's horrible. Hated it. And also, because my parents were teachers, they would commonly bring things home from school, like old phones or notebooks or pens or, I mean, all kinds of stuff. And so I'd play Office on the weekends, like if it was raining outside and we couldn't play outside, I would play Office in my room with the phones and stuff. It was so fun. God, I had so much fun. And something else that was really cool is that commonly on the weekends, my dad would need to go into the high school to do stuff, you know, work on lesson plans or grade papers, and I would go with him. And I got to play in like the secretaries, like the main secretaries' offices, like, you know, pretend like I was on the phone, and so cool. I'm gonna go back around with this brush now. Here's Bitsy outside crying. Oh, geez. But such great memories of that, you know, just hanging out with my dad at the high school, and oh, I loved it. So then, you know, I kind of touched on this a little bit too, going into middle school. One of the things, and even into high school, one of the things that we often did was go to the mall and walk around. Like, I don't know, group of 3 or 4 of us, sometimes more, would go to the mall and just walk around. And you know, sometimes we'd buy stuff, sometimes we wouldn't. One of the things we commonly did was put things on layaway, because you could do that. Like, you know, my mom would give me like $5 to $10 to get something to eat or get some candy or whatever. But oftentimes what we would do with that $5 or $10 is we'd go into one of our favorite stores, which was like JJ's Jeans or The Closet or Mariposa or Mr. Rags. And we would find something we really liked and we'd put it on layaway. So you'd give them like $5 and they'd hold on to it for you. And then you'd come in a few days later or a week later, give them another 5. And, you know, they would hold it for you for, I think, however long you needed them to, until you could pay it off. And then you could buy whatever it was once you paid it off, you know, take it home with you. It was so cool. I don't think they do that anymore. And I can remember my friends and I getting like matching t-shirts or sweatshirts and doing it with layaway or on layaway. So cool. And of course, you know, one of the main things you were doing at the mall was checking out boys. I'm gonna go back in with Lilac now. Can I just go around one more time? But, you know, we'd all just kind of like look at boys, and sometimes we'd talk to them too. Not very often, but sometimes we would. And lots of times they were boys from other schools. So, you know, you get to meet kids from other schools and stuff. It was just so fun. Oh, I miss that so much. And like, the fashion then, I kind of touched on this in part 1, was really fun. Like we had really bright colored stuff, like neon clothes. That was really popular for a while. Swatch watches were really popular. And so they'd make like swatch t-shirts. I remember having some of those. Just so fun. I love this. I think it's beautiful. So now, of course, I want to deepen up the outer V. And I think I will go into, well, yeah, I'm just going to go into Blackberry. Why not? Let's just make it real nice and deep purple in the outer V. And of course, going to the movie theater was super popular. You know, we'd go to the movie theater, we'd go roller skating. We just had a blast hanging out places. It was really fun. And, you know, my kids kind of went to the mall here and there when they were like in middle school and stuff, but it wasn't like it was when I was a kid. I mean, they would just go and like pick whatever, you know, like go get a shirt or I don't know, but they wouldn't like hang out there all day. Like we would hang out there all day. Okay. My mom would drop me and my friends off at like, I think the mall opened at like 11 on Sundays, and we'd be there till dinner time. It was just awesome. I loved it. And we weren't doing anything, you know, we were behaving ourselves for the most part. There was like this upper level at my mall, and there were kids that would like hang off, and I didn't do that. I was too chicken to do that, but it was just awesome. So I mentioned, I think in part one, that when I went to high school, my parents had gotten divorced and we'd moved to a completely different part of town. And I didn't know anybody except for my friend Michelle. I met her through my mom's, like some mutual friends of my mom's. And she was going to be going to the same high school, of course. And so we met that summer before freshman year and really clicked. It was awesome. And so I knew her, and she had introduced me to a couple of her friends at the fair. That was another huge thing that we all went and did, was go to the fair, the county fair, go on all the rides, go to some of the concerts. I saw Air Supply at the fair. I saw Club Nouveau. I saw the Jets. I think Paul saw the Jets too. We didn't go there together, but I'm pretty sure we went to the same concert just on our own. I don't remember seeing him there or anything, but we talked about it. That was so fun. So anyway, I went with Michelle and met some of her friends at the fair, and then school starts. And I grew up on the other side of town from the high school that I went to. And so like my fashion and the way I did my hair and my makeup was very different than the kids I was going to school with. I wouldn't say that I grew up in a low income area necessarily, but lower income than where I was going to high school now. And so like, I don't know, our fashion choices were just very different. Like we had the big, huge bangs and would wear really bright, colorful clothes, like in grade school, middle school, where I went to school. And so when I started at the new high school, it was, the kids there had a lot more money, or their families, their parents had a lot more money than what I had. My mom was a single parent. Yes, she was a teacher and she made, you know, decent money, but you know, quite often I had what I needed, but not what I wanted, you know what I mean? And that was just the way it was. And I didn't know any better, so that was fine. I wasn't like upset about it or anything at all. I was very happy with that. But going to high school with all these really wealthy, preppy kids, it was a culture shock for me because they dressed completely differently. They were very tailored, very preppy, you know, like penny loafers and khaki pants and pressed white shirts. And it wasn't like a uniforms or anything. It's just very different. And I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. It was really awful the first little while of my freshman year, even though I had Michelle as a friend, and then her best friend, Erin, and I became really close. And it was kind of like the three of us hanging out all the time. And I met other people too. I'm going to go back around with this brush into grape. Well, no, not that brush, this brush into grape. But it was terrifying because I just felt really out of place. I mean, I'd gone to school with my other friends at my other schools from the time I was 5 until I was 13. And so I just felt like I didn't belong. I looked different. I just was different. And it was hard. And I can remember the very first day of my freshman year of high school. This is so awful. Michelle and I actually met at the McDonald's near the high school, and we had breakfast together, and then we walked to the school, which was just right across the street. And my freshman year of high school, we could not go off campus for lunch because the year before, freshman kids had lit tables on fire using hairspray and a Bic lighter at the McDonald's, so they wouldn't let us go off campus. We did. We snuck off a few times. Anyway, so Michelle and I walk across to the school, and we had to go to the auditorium and have like this presentation, you know, kind of telling everybody like, okay, this is how this school is, and these are where you're, you know, get your schedules here and your classes are here, and, you know, just kind of giving you the layout of the school. So I'm sitting there next to Michelle and I'm like super nervous. There's all these kids around me that look, you know, very wealthy. And I'm like, oh God, you know, just feeling like, and I have my big hairsprayed bangs. And I had a cute little skirt on, like knee length, little khaki skirt, and cute little brand new flats, these little red flats, and this cute little blouse on. You know, I felt like I looked cute that day. And we get through with the presentation, and the goal was to then walk up to the upper part of the auditorium and get your schedules, and then you could, you know, meet up with like an older student and they would help you find your classes and stuff. Okay, great. So there were so many kids in the auditorium that it was taking forever for us to get up to get our schedules. So Michelle's like, screw it, I'm just going to walk over the seats, like step over and go up that way. So I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'll follow her. I have a skirt on and these slick flats. So I step up on this auditorium seat, and the seat, you know, bends up and down. So I put my foot on the seat, and right as I put my foot on it, the seat flips up, and my foot, or my foot and my leg just go sliding through, like right underneath the back of the seat. And I took off like the top 5 layers of my skin on my shin. First day of freshman year. The new person, and I'm walking around now with this gouge out of the front of my shin, and it's bleeding profusely. I had to go to the office, get a bandage. I mean, I just wanted to die. And I remember Michelle introducing me to some of her friends, and some of them are very kind, and some of them were really not kind. They were like, who the hell are you? Like looking at me like, scumbag. You know, they did. They looked at me like, ugh. And those people I never became friends with, but because they were, you know, snot heads. But I can remember walking home from school that day with my bloody shin, and my flats had just totally dug into my backs of my feet. I'm gonna go back into lilac because they were brand new. And we lived a few miles away from the school. So I had to walk all the way home, and I sobbed the whole way home, just bawled. And I got home, and I remember coming in the house alone because my mom was still teaching, and that was very common. We were latchkey kids, you know, our parents worked, and so we had our own key that we wore around a chain on our neck, or wore on a chain around our neck to get into the house. And I just sobbed for hours. My mom got home from work. I continued to sob. I cried after school every day for probably the first 2 weeks of school. And then, you know, I found my way and became friends with other folks. And, you know, Michelle and I stayed best friends with Erin, all 3 of us. And there was a couple other girls in our friend group. But it was not fun. I mean, that was a really tough time for me, really tough. So now I'm going to go into this beautiful shimmer shade called Oxidize and put it across both lids. And I think I will use this brush for this, one of my Eco Tools brushes. I think this will work pretty good. I think if not, I'll find a different one. But ooh, this is a little flaky. Be careful there. Be very tender with this. And I mentioned this in another video. Unfortunately, Michelle and Erin were killed in a car accident towards the end of my sophomore year of high school. And that was just awful, just devastating. And it really, ooh, God, that's pretty. It really changed the course of my high school years after that. Like, I ended up just hating it. I just wanted to get out of high school. I mean, there were some parts of it that were good. You know, like I was on dance team and I was on track, and you know, I had a really nice high school boyfriend. I did. You know, we stayed together until my sophomore year of college when we broke up. We went to college together, which I'll get to that. I'll touch on that a little bit before I end the video. But, you know, it was just devastating because they were my best friends. And when you're young, you think you're immortal. You know, you don't think anything bad's ever going to happen to you. We thought that we were just the coolest kids on the planet, which we were. But when that happened, it really jerked me into reality of the fact that no, we're not immortal. And I don't know, just it was really hard, really, really hard. And I think about them all the time. Probably not as much as I used to. I used to think about them every single day. I wouldn't say I think about them every day anymore, but I still think about them often, and I wonder what they would have become, who they would have been And miss them. You know, they were great people, great friends, and they really, both Michelle and Aaron, went out of their way to make me feel welcome, to make me feel accepted, to make me feel a part of that group. Because you know, high school's tough. It's tough, especially like what I was describing is coming to a completely different part of town with completely different kids and having to like make your way. That was tough. It really was. I mean, not to be like, oh, poor me, but it was tough. It was hard, not fun. Did not enjoy that part. And for them to make it easier for me, it was really nice, really wonderful. And I really cherished that in both of them. This is absolutely stunning. It's very sparkly. I'm getting a lot of fallout, like little sparkly particles, but it's gorgeous. Isn't that pretty? I love it. Okay, so now I want to go back in with this brush and go back into Blackberry. So yeah, I graduated from high school in 1992 and went off to college. I went to Western Oregon State College, which is actually Western Oregon University now. That's based on the number of kids that are attending the school. And I remember when I was going there, there were a lot of kids that wanted to get in that couldn't get in. I just happened to apply pretty early and had the, you know, GPA and the SAT scores, although my SAT scores were so horrible. I got like an 800, just horrible, but I had good grades, thank goodness. I don't test well. I just do not test well. I never have. And my AP English teacher was like, you got a higher score on your math part of your SATs and you did your English. What are you doing? Like, I don't know, I'm sorry. I had the best English teacher in high school, Mr. Burgess. He was such a badass. God, I loved him. Anyway, so I went off to college and, you know, lived in the dorms, and that was awesome. I had the weirdest roommate my first go around, and oh, God, we met each other at, I'm going to go back into grape. We met each other at orientation and, you know, really liked each other and hit it off. And we didn't want to, I was really nervous about, because they just assign you to a roommate, and I didn't want to get assigned to some, you know, oddball. And then I ended up choosing one of the biggest oddballs there was at my college. No offense, but oh, geez, she was really inconsiderate and really strange. And so we lived together for 2 terms. And then she ended up getting booted out of school because her grades were so horrible. And which was fine with me because we didn't get along. She would like take my stuff and have people like laying on my bed, and I had no privacy. And there was one particular thing that happened that was so awful. I don't think I can share it here because it's just, yeah, she just was not respectful of my things at all. And so I had gone to my RA, the resident assistant, several times about her. And then finally they said, you can pack up your stuff and go home, because she'd been on academic probation for the first term. And then by the second term, if you do it again, they're like, get out for at least a term. And I think she did come back our sophomore year. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think so. So at that point, I moved in with my boyfriend's roommate's girlfriend, because my boyfriend and I, Jason was his name, we went to college together. And, you know, our goal, we were going to get married. I had a promise ring, all that crap. And we broke up, which was good. You know, I mean, he wasn't a bad guy. He just, well, he kind of was. Cheated on me with a friend of mine. Thanks, buddy. But, you know, we just grew apart. We were just too young and we grew apart. And I absolutely loved college. Loved college. It was so fun. It was such a completely different experience from high school because, like I mentioned, I went to high school with a lot of really wealthy kids, and some of them were just jerks. They just thought they were the coolest, and they weren't. They were rude and mean and crappy and bullies and ugh. So going to college and having all of these different people there, it was just awesome. I loved it. And I had, you know, great professors, and I majored in psychology and had a really, well, decent advisor. But, you know, my roommates were awesome. So my freshman year, I ended up living with my boyfriend's roommate's girlfriend. And then she and I, our sophomore year, moved into a bigger dorm room with 2 other girls, Angie and Cindy. And then we ended up getting kicked out of the dorms because, God, we were just wild, like having parties in the dorms and also like just being loud and crazy. And we had a cat in our dorm room, and that was a fun conversation to have with my mom because you get penalized. If you get kicked out of the dorms, you know, you have to pay to live in the dorms, and you get kicked out, they penalize you like monetarily. My mom had to pay. I ended up having, well, I had to pay her back. I got a job in the summertime and all my money went to her to pay that back because it was like a couple $1,000. She was so pissed, but they were not going to let us stay there. Basically, the reason why we got kicked out, we got several warnings, but there was these guys that lived in the dorm room below us. And the dorm rooms that we had, they were bigger and they were like an apartment. One room was like the living area, and then the other room was our bedroom. And you know, in the living area, we each had our own desks. It was really a cool dorm setup. And these jackasses below us kept playing really loud music while we were trying to study. And Angie and I, one day, we had just effing had it. We were like, that's it. So we had these like slat windows. We took all the slats out, and Angie goes out of the window. I'm holding onto her legs, okay? And she takes a plastic big like spoon ladle type thing, and she's hanging upside down. She gets to their window and starts whacking on their window with the plastic spoon, telling them to turn their damn music down. And as I'm holding her legs so she can do this, the door to our dorm room just comes flying open. It's the RAs, both of them, and they're like, get her up out of the window, you guys are out of here. So we got kicked out. And then we moved into an apartment, the four of us, and it was really cute. It was cheaper, so that was great. My mom was happy about that because she was helping me financially. I mean, I worked during the summers and stuff. And I also worked some of the school year, too. I worked at Dairy Queen. That was fun. But we were just crazy girls. We were just crazy. And, you know, we stayed really close friends. I don't talk to them often anymore, which it makes me sad because I really loved them. Really did. I still do. Always will. And actually, my daughter ended up babysitting Cindy's kids. So that was cool. I think I'm done with my look. This video is going to be so long. I'm done with my look. I have a ton of fallout. I love how this turned out. I think it's gorgeous. So I'm going to go clean this up, and then I'll come back and wrap up the video. So this, of course, is my finished look. And I just love how it turned out. I had such a blast putting this look together. So much fun to collab with Charlie again, talking about things that are very near and dear to my heart. I didn't really give the shimmer shade a ton of fanfare as I was applying it because I was talking about something very serious as I was applying the shade, but I will do that here in just a moment. So let me show you everything I have on my face for this finished look. I don't have a primer on other than my Holy Hydration Moisturizer from e.l.f. So again, I'm still using the Maybelline Dream BB Fresh BB Cream in medium, along with the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator in medium. I think this is just going to become my staple base products. I do have other foundations I will use, but I'm just really enjoying both of those together. I did use the CoverGirl Clean Professional Powder again, trying to use this all up in translucent. For my blush, I used the IBY in Sunkissed. This is in my panning project, and I just thought the light pink would look really pretty with the eye look today. I love this blush. For my bronzer, I used the Iconic London. This is a mess. Iconic London in medium bronze. There's more to the description than that, but I can't read it. Love this. And then I did use the Josh Cosmetics highlighter in Luna again in my inner corners and also on my face. Yes. And then for my upper lid liner, I used the Black Like My Soul felt tip liner in black, of course, from Fatal Beauty. There's just a teeny tiny little bitty bit of this left. So trying to use it all up, and then I'm going to toss it in a garbage can. I used my Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effects Mascara. On my lips, I used a liquid lipstick from Menagerie Cosmetics in Hook, Line, and Sinker. I really feel that this liquid lipstick formula has become my favorite, and I'd like to buy all the colors of this liquid lipstick. Really enjoy using these. I think I have 3, and I'm definitely going to get more. They do have sales every so often. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about, is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's talk about the Be Perfect Carnival 3 Love Tahiti Stacey Marie palette first. Loved all the mattes that I put on my eyelids today. All of them. Wonderful. Pink Lily was gorgeous. Grape really nicely deepened up the crease. And then this really deepened up the outer corner, Blackberry. I put a combination of Blackberry and Grape on my lower lash lines. Loved Lilac too. I actually put a little bit of Lilac down there as well, just to kind of blend things out. This is such a wonderful palette. The mattes are so blendable, so pigmented. I mean, they just blended themselves, you know? Didn't really have to put a whole lot of effort into it. Love it. And now let's talk about the shimmer shade, Oxidize from Clionadh Cosmetics. Absolutely stunning. I love the fact that there is kind of like a teal blue in this too. Because when I was looking at it, when it was just sitting in my Z palette, it looked very pink and purple, you know? And so I thought, oh, that'd be perfect to put together with pink and purple mattes. But then to have that like teal blue stuff come out too, it's very sparkly. It's a lovely formulation, really nice consistency. You know, it just sticks really well to my lids. I think it will kind of blow up throughout the day just because that's what happens because I have hooded eyelids. It probably will happen, but I don't care. I think it's gorgeous. For now, it's really staying where I put it though. Really fun. And I cannot wait to continue to play with my Clionadh Cosmetics shadows. I will be using another one for my next makeup and artist video. Putting a cool toned eye look together. It'll all make sense when I tell you who I'm going to be covering. But again, this was so fun to do this with Charlie. I love to talk about memories from my childhood, 70s, 80s, into the 90s. It's just fun. That to me was the best time of life. I know we all think that, I'm sure, depending on what generation we're in, that when we grew up was the best time. But I really think the 70s, 80s, into the 90s was the best. The music, the fashion, well, some of the fashion, the movies, the stuff that we did, you know, just life, the environment around us. I don't know. I really miss it. I really do miss it. And if Charlie wants to do a part 3 of this, I'm totally down to do that. Make sure you go to Charlie's channel and subscribe if you have not yet already. Watch this video of hers, of course, and watch others. You're really going to enjoy her content. She's awesome. And really grateful that she wanted to do this again with me. This was so fun. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your lives to sit down and watch this video. If you're new here and you enjoyed what you saw, please consider subscribing, smash the like button, and of course, comment down below in the comment section. I love to chat with you guys there. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I cannot wait to see you guys again in my next video. But in the meantime, please take very good care of yourself. Be well, safe, happy, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Drop it.